Your orientation is over, we move on to the stuff that is a little bit more fun. Manager training will cover pre-practice needs, during practice needs, after practice needs, game day setups, and road trips. Afterwards, once again, you'll take a short quiz that will help retain all the knowledge that you learned during the presentation. As a manager, your primary job is to make sure that everything is ready for players and coaches when practice is ready to start. This means you must arrive about an hour early to make sure that all the balls are rolled out, the nets are set up, and anything else on the practice plan is covered and ready to go for the coaches. You must also make sure that the players are ready to go exactly when practice is ready to start. Once practice has begun, your main job is to make sure that practice is efficient as possible. This means when balls go flying, you need to make sure that you pick them up and put them back in the bin to help the players run more efficiently. You also must have a towel on your shoulder at all times to make sure that when players dive, the sweat can be wiped up so the surface isn't slippery and dangerous to the players. Also, please always pay attention to coaches as they may yell at you in the middle of practice and you must be ready to respond at all times. After practice, your first priority should be making sure that all the equipment is put away properly so that no one steals it or damages it after practice. Next, you must go to the locker room and make sure that all the girls sort their laundry appropriately so that the laundry can get done for practice the next day. Lastly, please always check with the coaches to make sure they don't need anything. Oftentimes, they will need errands run or film broken down immediately after practice. Once you are done with this, you are done for the day. While game days are the most exciting part of the job, it is still a job and you must remember this. While it is nice to watch and cheer, you must also remember that you are here for a reason and you must get your job done first. The first thing on game days is that every day there is a walkthrough. This walkthrough is pretty easy and all that is needed are the balls to be rolled out. The facility will always have the net and the bleachers set up, therefore on those days you do not need to set up the nets. You just roll out the balls and anything else that the coaches need. For the actual game, you must be there 2 hours prior to the game to help set up the balls, the benches, roll out the towels and the Gatorade carts and make sure that everything is ready to go. You'll be provided a checklist on each game day to make sure that everything is done properly. Once the game begins, you must have the dry erase boards and anything else that the coach specifically asked for during timeouts and during half times. Lastly, you must clean up the match and make sure that everything is put away, including all stats, all dry erase boards, all balls, and anything else that is provided by the team. In addition to normal game days, team travel requires a lot more work. These trips are a lot of fun, but they also must be taken seriously so that nothing is forgotten. Prior to the trip, 2 days before, you must post the itinerary given from the coaches to the locker room corkboard to make sure that the girls know where they need to be and what time they need to be there. The night before, you must pack all the equipment to make sure that nothing is left over. This includes balls, towels, extra jerseys, and whatever else is on your checklist. Then you must set all 5 sets of jerseys in each girl's locker. They pack their own bags, but they rely on you to give them all their uniforms, socks, and anything else they may need. Then you must double check to make sure that all equipment is packed and loaded onto the bus. Once it is loaded onto the bus, please check with the coaches to make sure they don't need anything else. Once this is done, we are ready to roll. Being a manager is tough. It requires a lot of time and a lot of attention to detail. Our last quiz covers some of these basic informations. While a lot of these things covered in the PowerPoint are useful to know, it will be much easier once you are actually out in the court doing them on a daily basis. But before you can get to that stage, we must make sure you're ready. Please take the next 60 seconds to complete the following quiz and email them to us when you are done. Thank you. Now that you've completed your orientation training, we move on to a short video. This video is designed to help you visually see all the things that we have been mentioning during the presentation thus far. You will learn how to set up a net, pack for road trips, and much more. Setting up the net is very important to being a volleyball manager. Before you become a manager, you must be able to set up a net from all the pieces to a full court without any assistance. This is known as the net test. Please use this video and watch it as many times as possible so that you are comfortable setting up a net before you come in for tryouts. Good luck! One of the most important parts of being a manager is making sure that everything is ready for practice. With the volleyball team, the first step would be setting up the nets. The first step is to get the balls and the nets out. They're stored in this cage right here. The back corner is where all of the other practice equipments are stored. You have the big setting nets, the stands, the balls, and much more. Although these vary day to day, you need to check the practice plan before practice to figure out what you need. There are also more balls, tennis balls, more antennas, and everything else that you may need during a practice. Every morning, Coach sends out a practice plan. This plan helps you figure out how many nets need to be set up. Today, since we're only setting up the center court, we use this set of poles. On days that we have to set up 3 courts, we have to use the red ones because they're a little bit smaller. But for now, let's get started with the center court poles.
Once you open the sleeve, insert the pole. The next step is to lay out the net so that the thick tape is on top. Next step is to loop the strings over the top of the net wheel. The loop on the hook by the crank. Okay. Next, you crank the net until it is tight. If you need to move the hook, pull like so. Once the net is cranked, we need to secure the bottom part of the net. So what we do here is we loop the string around, and we loop it in the latch. Then we loop it back around the net and hook. To tighten it, you pull back. It's nice and tight. And repeat on the other side. Now we have to secure the Velcro straps. Next, you need to check the height of the net. You want to find the middle of the court, attach it up top, and let it hang. Perfect! Next, you want to install the antennas. You want to make sure that the right side of the court is installed directly where the end line is. Make sure you take a few steps back to make sure that it's aligned. Perfect! Now for the next antenna, same thing. We want to make sure the right side of the court has the antenna installed on it. Finally, the pads. We want to make sure that we're Velcroing on the back side of the pole. To protect our players from the metal. You always want to make sure that you keep the crank on the pole in case any adjustments need to be made during practice. And then you're done! This is our storage room. This is where the uniforms are stored, the Gatorades are stored, and leftover gear from the fall. Make sure to stay organized. On the Wednesday before we leave for an away match, make sure that all 6 jerseys are put in each player's locker based off of what number they are. After you do uniforms, make sure that you post each weekend's itinerary on the corkboard so that all players know what they need to pack, where they need to be, and yay.
You now have completed your online training course. We hope that you have found this lesson valuable and you will use this information as you all go out and become student managers. Please take time to review the manual as well, which will provide you with additional information that you may find beneficial. We remind you to please submit all quiz answers to uscvolleyball@email.sc.edu. Please contact us should you have any further questions or concerns. Thank you for your participation today, and we wish you the best of luck.